Alex, please go ahead and continue with AB 2028.
Alrighty, so the next bill is Assembly Bill 2028 by Agia Curry. It is entitled State Agencies and Meetings. It is in the Senate, awaiting for assignment by the Committee on Rules. We think that this one has a good chance of passing. So this bill would require state bodies, subject to the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act, like us, to post all relevant background documents online at least 48 hours prior to a public meeting or when the board members get it, whichever is earlier. Instead of the agenda alone, such writing materials would only be eligible for distribution or discussion at the notice meeting if posted within the 10-day time frame. So it would also clarify that the public has the right to comment on any agenda item listed for that meeting, regardless of whether it has previously been discussed. Essentially, this bill would, conceivably provide the public more time to review the materials that would be utilized in the board deliberations at the upcoming meeting. This bill is likely going to pass. We recommend a watch on it. I really don't think we would have any problems with complying with the provisions of this. I believe that it actually may have been amended to be, it's 48 hours. Anyways, we are recommending a watch position, and we'd like to open it up to the board.
Yeah, and what Alex was alluding to is it was initially that all materials had to be posted 10 days in advance of the board meeting, along with the agenda. It would have had the same time frame as the agenda, and a recent amendment made it such that it reduced it to 48 hours before the board meeting. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, let's go ahead and open up for public comment, as there's no motion on the table.
We're now opening the public comment.
Thank you, Stephanie. We'll give a moment for the public to let us know if they have something to say. Add to this dialogue. Seeing none, and no motion on the table, we'll go ahead and...
we just had, sorry, we had one last second public comment.
Please, of course.
Okay. Looks like Neil, your microphone has been unmuted.
Testing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I have a question regarding the I'm not sure if it's germane to this, but about the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act, because it's come to my attention that sometimes, even myself can talk to a board member that we know socially or in another way. And I wanted to know how that affects board members that are currently on the board receiving influence or from other people or discussing things amongst themselves. And it might be advantageous to make that clear to the public in exactly what that act means in terms of not discussing things, privately or in collusion with one another or things like that. And I've been hearing some rumors of some things that have been going on, both in the past and currently. And I just wanted to get to have the board comment on that and as it relates to the board and this bill.
This is Fred from DCA Legal. My understanding is this bill is talking about the availability of printed materials, to be put on the board's website and not necessarily on other points of the Open Meeting Act. Therefore, my recommendation for the board is that I guess the first part of the question, the question regarding communications, that is not on the board's agenda, and I do not recommend that this matter be discussed at this present time.
Thank you for your advisement, legal counsel. Any other questions from the public on AB 2028? regarding making meeting materials available 48 hours in advance of a board meeting, mandating meeting materials be available. Seeing none, going back one more time to the board, any further questions or clarifications on this matter? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move forward. It'll be 2113, please.
So the next bill is Assembly Bill 2113 by Assemblyman Lowell, titled Refugees, Asylees, and Immigrants, Professional Licensing. This bill has been passed through the Assembly and is now in the Senate, where it has been referred to the Committee on Rules for assignment. And this was earlier this month, so this has been acted on recently and probably has a good chance of moving through the legislative process. So what this bill would do is that it would require programs within the Department of Consumer Affairs to expedite and assist the initial licensure process for an applicant who supplies satisfactory evidence that they are a refugee, have been granted political asylum, or have a special immigrant visa specified. This bill would authorize programs to adopt regulations necessary to administer these provisions. And we recommend watch from staff. Essentially, what this would do is, mandate that we speed up the process if someone, can prove that they are here under political asylum or here as a refugee. But our initial licensure process is actually pretty quick. Generally, DCA, they like to aim for 10 days, and we generally hover around 2. In terms of someone who has not received their education in an approved educational program, it comes down to foreign transcript evaluation services. That's really where the lead time is going to be, depending on how long it takes for them to have all the necessary documentation and whatnot ready. The lag time is not on us. So I'd like to think that this bill was written with other boards in mind, most likely, considering that we really don't have a ton of challenges in the wait time on initial licensure. That being said, there's always room for improvement. Anyways, we have motioned, or we recommend a watch position. So we'd like to open it up to the board. Any questions or comments?
I motion that the Acupuncture Board take a watch position on AB 2113 as amended on June 4th, 2020 for the reasons discussed by the members and staff and reflected in the staff memo.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Francisco and a second by John to take a watch position. Let's open it up to public comment.
The Q&A feature has now been opened.
Thank you.
It looks like we do have one public comment so far. Michael, I'm unmuting your microphone. Can we do a quick mic check, please?
Thank you. This is Dr. Michael Fox again. And can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I would like to support Dr. Kim's motion that we watch this. We have seen with the Acupuncture Board that they react and observe and monitor very quickly these kinds of applications. And our delay and our concern has been translation. So if we can get accurate translations of transcripts and accurate translations of degree conferments, it is my experience in watching the California Acupuncture Board and related boards that they do react very quickly. So I would like to support Dr. Kim's motion that we watch this. But I feel like the board is doing an excellent job in this realm. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Your microphone has been muted, and that was the only public comment that we had.
Thank you, Stephanie. Let's go ahead and call roll call vote, please. The motion on the table is to watch.
Dr. Amy Matucki,
Yes.
Kitman Chan,
Yes.
Yangping Chen,
Yes.
John Harabedian,
Yes.
Francisco Kim,
Yes.
Chudong Lee,
Yes.
Ruben Osorio.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you kindly, Christine. Go ahead, Alex.
So our next bill is by Assemblyman Patterson. Is Assembly Bill 2185, entitled Professions and Vocations, Applicants Licensed in Other States, Reciprocity. This bill is in the Assembly. It's been re-referred to the Committee on Business and Professions. It has not been acted on since May. We will see if it passes. Essentially, what this bill would do, it would require the board to issue a license to an applicant who is married to or in a domestic partnership with an active duty member of the armed forces stationed in California under certain conditions. The applicant has to hold an out-of-state license in good standing, and they have to have held that out-of-state license for 3 of 5 years of the last 5 years, among other requirements. We recommend at the staff level to oppose or to oppose unless amended. While license reciprocity might serve as a benefit in other professions with similar state-to-state standards, our standards here in California for our licensed acupuncturists, they must have 3,000 hours of curriculum, while other states require around 1,900. This bill appears to authorize boards to require that licensees take the California licensing exam. But they would not be even eligible to sit for this exam if they were to have that level of education in California, and they just kind of get around the requirements that are on California licensees if they are from another state. So this would get around kind of the educational standards that we have for our licensed acupuncturists here in California. And so this bill would, feasibly kind of degrade those standards. For that reason, we recommend an opposed position. Is there any questions or comments from the board?
And board members, we can also oppose with the amendment that California, that acupuncturists be excluded from this. So we can do a straight oppose or oppose unless amended to exclude acupuncturists, California acupuncturists, or the practice of acupuncture. I'm not sure if I'm saying this right to capture that. Any questions, comments, or motions from the board?
I'll move to oppose.
Thank you, Member Harabedian. We have a motion to oppose.
This is Fred, DCA. Oh, sorry, Ben.
Yes.
This is Fred from DCA Legal. Just to specify, it's oppose as in like the first option oppose or second option oppose, but with terms.
Correct.
With amendments, rather.
Right.
And Member Harabedian, you had moved to oppose. Period.
Correct. Correct.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Let's go ahead and open it up to the public.
What? The Q&A has now been opened. And we do have a public comment. Neil, I'm unmuting your microphone. Could you quick mic check, please?
Testing.
Perfect.
Okay. My position, personal position, is oppose unless amended to exclude LAC. So I personally like the second thing because it shows that you're, willing to work with the author, and I always like to work with authors if you can, and this doesn't hurt them, and it just lets you know that we've actually read the bill, and I think that it's more clear to say that we can oppose unless amended to exclude us. That's it. That's my position.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Michael, I'm unmuting your microphone. Can we do a quick mic check, please?
Thank you. This is Dr. Michael Fox. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I would like to support Mr. Harvey's motion to oppose, and I feel like this is an end run around our requirements. We have very strict and very strong requirements, and I feel like our requirements to become licensed in California are not related to marriage. I'm very sensitive to marriage diversity, and moving a person in from another state into California for any reason, whether it is merely relocation or federal orders or whatever, is not a mandate for relaxing our standards. And so I would say, regardless of where they came from or why they came here, we need to enforce and enact our standards for licensure. And so many practitioners from other states, regardless of whom they're married to, will come in with different licensure requirements and different education requirements. And I believe and I understand that as Californians, we need to stick to our standards, and our standards are higher than other states. And so if those persons want to move into our state, they need to become they need to deal with our requirements, basically. And so I would support John Herbedian's proposal to oppose this, because we cannot relax our requirements just because somebody's married to a certain person who moves into the state. Thank you very much.
Dr. Fox, your mic has been muted. And that was the last public comment that I can see.
Thank you kindly, Stephanie. All right, now let's take that back to the board and do a roll call vote, please. The motion is to oppose, and go ahead, Christine.
Sure. Dr. Mateki?
Yes.
Kitman Chan? Kitman?
It sounds like you're muted. Let's go ahead and move to the next member for now. And we'll check on Kitman at the end.
Yeah. Yangping Chen?
Yes.
John Herbedian?
Yes.
Francisco Kim?
Yes. Yes.
Shudong Lee?
Yes.
Ruben Osario?
Yes.
Back to Kitman. You able to unmute yourself?
Kim, it looks like you called in with a phone and also have a computer, so you might have to make sure your phone and the computer is unmuted.
Thank you, Stephanie.
I can also unmute the WebEx on my end if you would like me to.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Kimmin, I've unmuted your mic.
You're here now?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that
Okay.
yes?
Mr. Chan, can you please restate your position on this?
Yes. I vote yes.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Chan.
Motion to oppose passes.
Thank you, Christine. Board and public. Alex?
So our next bill is Assembly Bill 2214 by Assemblywoman Carrillo. It's entitled the Administrative Procedure Act, Notice of Proposed Action. This bill is still in the Assembly. It's been referred to the Committee on Accountability and Administrative Review. This was back in February, and it has not moved since. I've got a good feeling that it's dead. It's got some problems with how it interacts with the Administrative Procedure Act. But anyways, what it would do is this bill would require a state agency, including us and other departments of the Consumer Affairs, to conspicuously post specified regulatory documents on its website within 24 hours of submitting a proposed action to the Office of Administrative Law. So the first couple of days after the Office of Administrative Law receives a notice, they're using that time to read through your stuff and make sure that you've crossed your T's and dotted your I's. At that point, there's no regulatory discretion or anything happening at that point. That's just for OAL to make sure that when we get ready to officially initiate these proceedings with the public, that we have all of our ducks in the row. So there's no, the public, they were going to review this regulatory action at the meeting at which the board talked about it and proposed it. That, the public can also write to us at any time in between there. There's nothing stopping the public from, commenting on this stuff or seeing this stuff. It just creates a lot of work for our poor analysts who are also submitting what tend to be very, very intensive documents, which are, mandated already to be posted for 45 days for the public to see. OAL just, wants the chance to look at things before, everybody else does. And then they say, okay, now you can open it up to the public and everybody can read it and comment on it and we can go through the normal regulatory process. This bill, I don't really know if this actually yields any public benefit for the amount of work that it would impose on agencies of the Department of Consumer Affairs. So anyways, we at staff recommend a position of oppose. We'd like to open it up to the board. Are there any questions or comments?
Or a motion?
I move that the Acupuncture Board take the opposed position on AB 2214.
We have a motion on the floor with Ruben Osorio. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch who that was. That seconded it first? Sounds like it was John, perhaps?
It was, but I'm happy to, whoever else jumped in can second instead.
Hearing no others, we'll take John as the second there with Ruben motioning. Let's go ahead and open this up for public comment.
All right, we have opened up the Q&A panel. You have the instructions over on the slide. If you would like to make a public comment, go ahead and type in "I'd like to make a comment," and we will call you in the order that they are received. We have one public comment currently. It's from Michael Fox. I am going to go ahead and unmute your microphone, Michael, if you could go ahead and test that for us.
Thank you. This is Dr. Michael Fox. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you. I just want to state that I feel that this amendment creates a lot of extra work for no benefit to the public whatsoever. I think that they have plenty of opportunity to comment and see and find out and all other disculpatory sorts of actions without creating this extra work on our board. And I would support the board's motion to oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and mute your microphone. And those are all the public comments at this time. Would you like to close the Q&A panel?
Yes.
Let's go ahead and close that. Thank you, Bill and Dr. Witecki. And let's go ahead and take a roll call vote on the move is to take an opposed position to AB 2214 by Ruben Florio, seconded by John Harabedian. Christine.
Dr. Matecki?
Yes.
Jetman Chan?
Yes.
Youngping Chen?
Dr. Chen, it sounds like you're muted.
It looks like you're on a cell phone and your computer may be muted as well. I can unmute your microphone if you would like.
Go ahead. Yeah, there she is. Or Bill, perhaps that was you.
I went ahead.
Chen, are you
unmuted?
Dr. Chen, can you hear us?
Check your cell phone and make sure. It looks like it might be a separate phone. We can go ahead and move on to the next person. Come back.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
John Harabedian?
Yes.
Francisco Ken?
Yes.
Sudong Lee?
Yes.
Ruben Osario?
Yes.
Are we going to go back to Dr. Chen or?
Yes, Dr. Chen, are you available? Sounds like you're still muted on one of your connections. Okay, we as an abstain at the moment or just a no vote? And perhaps come back around, perhaps Dr. Chen is not available at the moment due to technical reasons.
Okay.
Legal counsel, Fred, are we okay to move forward?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's already, from my count, there's already more than enough. The majority has already voted to take an opposed position on this. So I think just for the record, maybe make a note that in the minutes that there was I guess maybe some technological error, and as a result of that, we weren't able to reach Mr. Chan and get his vote on this item.
So noted. Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you, board members. Alex?
So our
Sorry,
next
board
bill
members.
is Assembly Bill
Sorry.
2411 by Assemblyman Nazarian. It's entitled Healing Arts Licensees, Remuneration, Drug or Device Companies Disclosure. This is in Assembly and has been referred to the Committee on Business and Professions and the Committee on Health. It has not been acted on since March, so it's unclear if this is going to move before the end of the legislative calendar. So this bill would require a healing arts licensee who gets paid from a drug or device company to disclose the amount and source orally and in writing to each patient before they use the prescription drug or device. We recommend watch on this. We're not entirely sure if if these requirements would apply to herbs, but they probably would apply to the devices that acupuncturists use in rendering treatment. So, but at the end of the day, this is a consumer transparency bill. So we recommend watch. We'd like to open it up to the board. Any questions, comments, or a motion?
Thank you, Alex. As we know, there's a number of devices or scope. I'm thinking of like cold lasers and consciousness that may apply here, but those are out of scope right now in California. So the associations would have to work with the legislature to be able to include that in their scope. If the case, the board would not be working to do that, as it's not its job to establish scope. Its job is to protect the public. The association can discuss with the legislature what they feel they are capable of doing if they wanted to expand their scope. Any position on this by the board members?
I motion that the Acupuncture Board take a watch position on AB 2411 as amended on February 18th, 2020 for the reasons discussed by the members and the staff and as reflected in the staff memo.
Thank you, Member Kim. Is there a second?
This is Shudong Lee. I'm second.
Thank you, Member Lee. Let's go ahead and open it up for public comment. Looks like we have one public comment.
Yes, sorry, I realized I was speaking on mute. But Neil, I have muted your microphone.
Cha, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I just wanted to, in preparing this whole week for all these bills and everything that was on the agenda, in reading this, I reached out to Assemblyman Nazarian's office. I am waiting to hear back. I had the same concerns as this relates to herbs. I am actually one of his constituents and I'm friendly with his chief of staff. So I sent him a personal letter. And as soon as I find out any more information, I will relay that to the board as soon as possible. But I do support the watch position as we don't know yet. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any additional public comment?
Your microphone has been muted, and I see no other additional public comment.
Thank you, Stephanie. Let's take this back to the board. Christine, if you could please conduct a roll call vote for the motion to watch this bill.
Dr. Matecki?
Yes.
Chitman Chan?
Yes.
Yangping Chen?
Yes.
John Herbidian?
Yes.
Francisco Kim?
Yes.
Shudong Lee?
Yes.
Ruben Osorio?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Christine. Motion passes. We will watch this bill. And I saw that Dr. Chen was able to take a vote on this one. President Matecki, would it be all right to move back to the previous item just to get Dr. Chen's vote on the record?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Christine, if you could take us back to the roll call, read the motion for Dr. Chen to be able to take a vote.
Sure. This was on AB 2214. Ruben Osorio moved to oppose, moved for the board to take an opposed position. John Herbidian seconded. Dr. Chen?
Yes. Sorry, I use cell phone and suddenly the signal just cut. I couldn't get on. So I found a better location now.
Thank you, Dr.
Very
Chen.
good.
Thank you.
All right, motion passes unanimously on that one. Thank you for allowing us to move back to that and collect that vote for the record. Alex, please go ahead.
All right, so our next bill actually has been got and amended to now be completely unrelated to acupuncture or public agencies or information practices as we have there. So we recommend no position unless we'd like to talk a little bit about consumer credit reports. So I'm going to assume probably not. And move on to the next bill, if that's okay with everyone. I don't know if we need to have public comment because it was on the agenda, but.
Let's just give the board members 10 seconds to chime in if they have something to say here, and the public to comment since it was on the list. Not hearing anything from the board members. Let's give the public a moment to comment.
Yeah, I am opening up the public comment. The Q&A feature has now been enabled.
Thank you. To the public listening in, if you'd like to let us know if you have something to say on this gut and amended bill. Hearing none, we've done our due diligence, and let's move forward. Yeah.
All right, so our next bill is Assembly Bill 2978 by Assemblyman Ting, entitled Department of Justice Arrest and Conviction Records Review. This bill is currently in the Assembly, and the hearing has been postponed by the Public Safety Committee back in March. It's not likely that this is going to be taken up this session. In summary, pursuant to Assembly Bill 1076, which is from last year, the Department of Justice is required beginning January 1st of next year to review statewide criminal justice databases and identify individuals who are eligible for arrest record relief or automatic conviction record relief by having their arrest records or criminal conviction records withheld from disclosure or modified. Current law provides that individuals are eligible for this relief, among other criteria, if the arrest or conviction occurred on or after January 1st, 2021, so after the first of this next year. This bill instead moves that back to January 1st, 1973, moving it back about 50 years. We recommend watch on this one. Do we have any questions, comments from the board?
Hearing no comments from the board, let's go ahead and open it up to the public for public comment.
Public comment is now open, and just a reminder, the instructions are on the screen. And I will be answering public or unmuting in order of received. We do have one public comment so far. Dr. Fox, I'm going to be unmuting your microphone now. Can we do a quick mic check, please?
Okay, this is Dr. Fox. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So my comment on this is I would like to consider if this bill is looking to advance the look-back period from now until 1973, what's the problem? I think if the issue is, do we consider it more recently or do we consider it 40 years ago? What's the issue? So my concern is 40 years ago is probably not relevant, and I honestly, on the basis of what this question looks at, I would say watch, and I would support an issue of watch, but my concern is 40 years ago is really not relevant. So if it's 40 years ago, let's oppose it, and if it's 3 years ago, then let's watch it. Thank you.
Dr. Fox's microphone has been muted, and that was the only public comment.
Thank you. Last opportunity for the board. No item, we can move forward with the board taking no position. Hearing no position. Alex, let's go back to AB 2631.
Yeah, apologies, everyone. I seem to have skipped over a bill or two here. So we're going to go back and do Assembly Bill 2631 by Assemblyman Cunningham. This is titled License Fees, Military Partners, and Spouses. This bill is currently in the Assembly Committee on Business and Professions. It's unclear that this will be taken up this session. This bill was painted with quite a wide brush with no particular board's budget in mind, it seems, in my personal opinion. But anyways, this bill would require programs within DCA to waive initial or original licensing fees for spouses and domestic partners of active duty military members. We don't really have data on how prevalent that is that I know of in the acupuncture community here in California. But we recommend a watch position on this bill. Is there any questions or comments from the board or a motion?
Yeah, I had a comment. This is Kim Chen. I think I don't know exactly. The previous year we had this kind of bill. I think the board support this bill and eliminate the license fee for the military and partner and spouse, something like that. Is it this bill is in the previous bill is about the same or different?
So yeah, the previous bill in which we talked about this had to do with kind of the requirements of getting a license in the first place. And so we are saying, oh, well, if you're married to someone who's stationed in California, then you don't need to go through the requirements that you would normally need to when pursuing an acupuncture license in the state of California. You don't need to do the thousands and thousands of hours of education. You can use whatever education in whatever state you got, which is problematic. This bill is just the fees. We're saying, hey, we're going to give you a license for free as long as you're married to someone in the military here. So I don't think that speaks to requirements or anything like that. It's just how much money we're going to charge them, assuming that they do meet all of the requirements for licensure.
I understand. And I'd like to make a motion to accept the staff recommendation to watch in the position to watch this bill.
I second that.
Thank you, Member Chan. The motion on the table is to take a watch position on AB 2631 with a second from Ruben Nastario. Let's go ahead and open up for public comment.
This is Yongping. Can I make a comment?
Fred, clarification here on procedure.
So is a board member trying to make a comment after the motion's already been put on the floor?
Correct. Motion and seconded.
Yeah, that's fine. They can make comments.
Okay, thank you. I just want to ask if this AB 2631 can associate with AB 2185, which talk about waive the test for the military spouse or domestic partnership. So we took a post position for AB 2185. Should we take the same position for AB 2631, or now it's different? One is opposed, one is watched. Should this two bills be consistent for our position? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chen. Just to note the differences, as Alec discussed earlier, the first bill that we took an opposed position on was because the spouses of military personnel could get the license regardless of the education requirements. In this case, it is simply waiving the licensing fee. The spouses of military partners would still be required to qualify with the education requirements. So it does leave a little room for nuance and a different position. And the motion on the table is to watch.
Okay, thank you for clarification.
Certainly. Any other questions or comments from the board before we move the motion to public comment? Hearing none, let's go ahead and open public comment, please.
Public comment is now open. And we do have one comment. So Dr. Fox, I'm going to be unmuting your microphone now. We do a quick mic check, please.
Thank you. This is Dr. Michael Fox in Los Angeles. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. With all due respect to the enormous support that our military personnel provide to us, I would suggest that reducing or eliminating the fees and not the requirements, because this amendment seems to ignore whatever requirements are out there. I feel like everybody needs to pay their appropriate fees, and so when you move into the new state, you need to pay the new state's fees, and then as part of the process of becoming a California state licensed acupuncturist. And so I do not feel that we need to adjudicate this. I love the fact that these people are supporting us and protecting us, but in the same sense, what they are asking for is a reduction in their business taxes or their business fees, and in fact, we need to remain vigilant that they have met our requirements and that they pay our fees. And so I would support that we watch this. I would support the motion that we watch this, but more strongly, I would support that we oppose this. I feel like we need to, if these people are moving into our jurisdiction and we are going to adjudicate their actions as a state, then we need to charge them the appropriate fee. And so I would feel like, regardless of their military status and regardless of their marital status, and you need to understand that I am very, very, very acutely aware of marital status, these folks need to understand that when they move to California, they need to pay the California licensure fees, and they need to adhere and they need to adhere and they need to conform to all of the state licensure requirements and fees. Thank you very much.
Dr. Fox has been muted, and that was the only public comment.
Thank you, Stephanie. Christine, let's go ahead and take a roll call vote on the motion to watch.
Yes. Okay. Dr. Mateki?
Yes.
Kitman Chan?
Yes.
Dr. Chen? Yangping Chen?
Yes.
John Harabedian?
I was muted. Yes.
Francisco Kim?
Yes.
Dudong Lee?
Yes.
Ruben Osorio?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Go ahead, Alex.
So our next bill is AB 2704. This is the last bill I skipped over, and then we'll be back on track. AB 2704 by Assemblyman Ting, entitled Healing Arts Licensees Data Collection. This is in the Assembly Committee on Business and Professions. Excuse me, it was referred relatively recently, so there is a good chance this bill will move before the close of the session. This bill would standardize the licensee demographic data that must be collected by all healing arts boards. Several board-specific data collection requirements would be repealed. Aggregate information collected must be posted on each board's website and provided to the Office of Statewide Health Planning and Development. This process is something that'll be a lot easier for us once we get through BISMOD and we start to be able to accept online license applications. Obviously, that'll make it a lot easier for us to collect the data that would be required under this bill. I think we're already required to collect some of this data. It just depends on where we have to post it and who we give it to. So that's essentially what this bill would be doing. We recommend a watch position on this. This is something that we're going to be able to do relatively easily with our new online system. So it's not really going to have that much of an impact on us. Are there any questions or comments or a motion from the board?
Hearing no questions from the board, we can move to public comment. If there is no motion, board members want to step forward.
Do we need a motion? Sorry.
If people want to make a motion to watch the bill or take a position on the bill, they're more than welcome to. I just wasn't hearing last time, so I was just going to move it over to public comment.
Or we can just take the staff recommendation watch right now, right?
Correct. You can make a motion to do that. Would you like to do that?
Sure.
Okay. Dr. Matecki motions to take a watch position. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Francisco Kim. Thank you. Let's go ahead and open it up for public comment.
Public comment has now been opened.
Thank you, Stephanie. Go ahead and give the public a moment to see if you would like to add to this discussion. All right. I'm not seeing any comments ready to be looking to be proffered, so we'll go ahead and take it back to the board. Christine, if you could please provide a roll call vote for the motion to take a watch position on AB 2704.
Sure. Dr. Matecki?
Yes.
Kitman Chan?
Yes.
Yangping Chen?
Yes.
John Herabedian?
Yes.
Francisco Kim?
Yes.
Shudong Lee?
Yes.
Ruben Osorio?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Al.
All right, so if you turn the page, we are now on Assembly Bill 3045 by Assemblyman Gray, entitled Department of Consumer Affairs, Boards, Veterans, Military Spouses, Licenses. I think you all will recognize the subject matter of this one. It's quite similar to the other ones. This bill would require certain programs within the Department of Consumer Affairs to issue licenses to veterans and active duty military spouses and domestic partners who hold active licenses in other jurisdictions. This reasoning is going to be very similar to the original bill. Similar to this, standards for acupuncture licensure vary quite widely from state to state. So for this reason, we recommend an opposed position to this bill. Are there any questions, comments, or motions from the board?
There's no questions. This is Amy Mateki.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I can
All right.
move to support the staff recommendation for no position on Bill AB 2748.
We are on Bill AB 3045. Apologies again. I had skipped over AB 2631 and 2704, so we had to go back to page 8 to cover those. We had already gone through page 9, so now we are on page 10, Assembly Bill 3045. This is about veterans and our reciprocity agreement, or actually our lack thereof of any reciprocity agreements.
Point of order. Sorry. Go ahead, Francisco. My point of order can wait.
Yeah, I motion that the Acupuncture Board take an opposed position on AB 3045 as revised on May 22nd, 2020 for the reasons discussed by members and staff and as reflected in the staff memo, and direct the EO to inform the Legislature and Author's Office of this position.
We have a motion on the table by Francis Kim. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Ruben. The motion is seconded. We'll take it to the public for comment.
The Q&A has been enabled for public comment. And it looks like we do have one public comment. Dr. Fox, your mic has been unmuted.
Thank you. This is Dr. Michael Fox. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So I would like to support the motion to oppose this, as I understand it. I believe that as Californians, in support of our Californian patients, we need to uphold our standards, and many of these military spouses coming into the state do not meet those standards. So I would say that we should oppose these standards. We should oppose this motion in the sense that we need to continue to uphold our standards for educational and exam requirements. Anybody coming into the state needs to meet all of the requirements for licensures that are currently in effect, whether or not they are married to a particular person who moves into the state or not. Thank you very much.
Dr. Fox has been muted, and there is no other public comment.
Thank you kindly, Stephanie. Christine, let's go ahead and take a roll call vote on the motion to oppose AB 3045.
Dr. Mateki?
Yes.
Whitman Chan?
Yes.
Yongping Chen?
Yes.
John Harabedian?
Yes.
Francisco Kim?
Yes.
Shudong Li?
Yes.
Ruben Osorio?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. And now I'm going to call point of order. Can you confirm, Christine, for me that the board took a vote on AB 2978? I believe we did 2748, but I think we skipped 2978.
Checking. It does not look like have a vote on 2978. I don't have that.
Thank you. Okay, I didn't think so either. We did discuss the 2748, which would take it back 40 years. Okay. Excuse me, board members, I was just confirming with staff on whether this was covered, and it appears that there was no motion made on this, but we did cover it. So thank you for that clarification, and we are welcome to move forward to AB 3298.
So it is Assembly Bill 3298 by Assemblymember Bro, entitled Frauds of Medical Credentials Penalty. This bill is in the Assembly. It's been referred to the Committee on Business and Professions back on April 24th of this year. It has not moved for quite some time, but that being said, it's not that controversial. This bill would increase the maximum fine from $6,000 to $10,000 for certain types of healing arts license fraud, including selling or offering to sell a healing arts degree or diploma, making false statements as part of an application, or violating the security of an examination. For what I think are pretty obvious reasons, so I recommend a support position. Obviously it's of great benefit to ourselves that we do what we can to kind of maintain the integrity of our degree and diploma verification process. And if the legislature thinks that an increased penalty will aid in that, then I agree. So are there any questions or comments or a motion from the board?
And if I may add to this, we have had challenges in terms of working with some foreign countries in obtaining legitimate documents from certain institutions. We do work with governments to confirm some of these things. This would be a healthy deterrent to include. Because of our pathway for foreign applicants, and because this medicine is multicultural and international in origin, this would be helpful to make sure that everyone is meeting California standards and not getting in by fraud. Thank you. Board members?
This is Yongping Chen. I think it's very important to check the people's education background to make sure it's meet California's education requirement or the application for the license examination. And I think we have to make this very firm. So I fully support the recommendation motion language. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chen. Would you like to motion?
Yes, if I may.
Table support position for AB 3298. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'm second.
We have a second from Member Chan. Let's go ahead. Any additional comments? I wasn't sure if I cut somebody off with that motion there from the board members. Hearing none, let's go ahead and open it up for public comment.
The Q&A feature has been enabled for public comment. Looks like we do have a public comment from Dr. Michael Fox. Your microphone has been unmuted.
Hello, this is Dr. Michael Fox. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent, thank you. I would like to speak in support of Dr. Yongping Chen's motion. We have an ongoing difficulty with verifying overseas and offshore credentials, and I think that we need to enable our acupuncture board all probable and available remedies to clarify this. So I'm going to support our motion for this because we need aggressive verification of these credentials because in many cases, these will come into other states and they will be lesser qualified, and we have higher qualifications. So let's maintain our standards in California and let's keep this as a high bar. Thank you very much.
Okay, you have been muted. Now moving on to the next public comment from Neil. Neil, your microphone has been unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I would like to join Dr. Michael Fox in supporting Young Ping's motion for the reasons that Michael articulated. Thank you.
There are no further public comments.
Thank you kindly, Stephanie, and thank you for the comments received. Let's go ahead and do a roll call on the motion to support AB 3298 to increase the maximum fine from $6,000 to $10,000 for fraudulent documents. Selling or offering to sell the human rights abuse. Please proceed.
Dr. Mateki?
Yes.
Kitnan Chan?
Yes.
Yangping Chen?
Yes.
John Herabedian?
Yes.
Francisco Kim?
Yes.
Shudong Lee?
Yes.
Ruben Osorio?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Go ahead.
All right. So our next bill this starts our suite of bills that originated in the Senate. So these are all Senate bills. Our first bill is Senate Bill 878 by Senator Jones, entitled Department of Consumer Affairs Licensing, Applications, Wait Times. This bill is in the Senate Appropriations Committee following a 9-0 vote from Business Professions and Economic Development Committee. Generally, when committees pass things unanimously this late in the session, that means that they want to move it. So this looks likely to proceed through to the Assembly. What this bill would do is it would require each licensing program within DCA, or the Department of Consumer Affairs, to prominently display on its website the current average time frame for processing initial renewal license applications for each license it offers. Again, this bill is a licensing time frame requirement. It's written with, I will venture to say, other boards and not ours. I don't think the legislature is going to complain about 2 or 3 day turnaround. That's pretty good when it comes to government. That's really good. Anyways, so we motion that we take a watch position on this bill. I imagine that this is something that's probably needed for other boards, but doesn't really impact us. Do we have any questions or comments or a motion from the board? All right. If there's no motion, do we have public comments?
I'm enabling the Q&A for the public comment right now. And we do have a public comment from Dr. Michael Fox. Your microphone has been unmuted.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I would like to say that this issue is related to new practitioners who are waiting anxiously to hear about their status. And I feel like we need to turn this around. There is no reason for us to delay this. So let's support this. So watch status is not sufficient for me. Let's move this forward. Let's tell them, get it together, put it together, turn it around, and let's tell them yes or no right away. I would like to see us turn this around more quickly than just, well, we'll wait and see. Thank you very much.
The microphone has been muted, and that was the only public comment.
Thank you, Stephanie. Board members, one last attempt to, if you have a comment or a position you want to take on this. By not motioning, you are taking a no position, and we can move forward. I hear no position being moved for. Therefore, this will be noted as a no position. Please, Ellen.
All right, so our next bill is Senate Bill 937. This is from Senator Hill. It's entitled State Agencies Web Accessibility. This bill is currently in the Senate. It's been double referred to both the Judiciary Committee and the Committee on Governmental Organization, but the referral to Judiciary has been rescinded. Judiciary is a classically busy committee, and due to the shortened legislative calendar, I imagine they really try to get as many bills off of their docket as possible, this one being one of them. Anyways, to be quick, the state is currently trying to make all of its documents online from our agencies to be accessible. This bill would essentially allow state agencies to remove documents from the internet in the case that they are inaccessible, as long as they cite why they're doing it. This just gives the boards and agencies a chance to remove things without getting in trouble, and gives them a chance to fix it and make it accessible to anyone who's maybe hearing impaired, for example, and to get it back up online. Yeah, that is, we recommend a watch position on this bill. Are there any questions, comments, or a motion from the board?
I motion that the Acupuncture Board take a watch position on SB 937 as introduced on February 6, 2020, for the reasons discussed by members and staff and reflected in the staff memo.
Thank you, Francisco Kim. We have a move to watch. Do we have a second?
I second.
I'm sorry, was that Yangping Chen? Muteki?
Muteki, I second.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a second. Let's go ahead and open it up for public comment.
Public comment has now been enabled.
Thank you.
And it looks like we do have a public comment from Dr. Michael Fox. Your microphone has been unmuted.
Boy, I feel like this is Dr. Michael Fox, and I would like to say, in this time of physical and social isolation, we need to be able to comment online and socially distant. So let us allow this to happen immediately and online for our acupuncturist. Why are we restricting this? Why are we watching this when we can in fact enable this? If you are proposing a legislation and the legislation invites comment, let's invite that comment immediately online in a way that's going to be normal and safe for our public for the next year to 3 years. Let's put that out there. I should be able to say to you, I like this, I don't like this, and explain my reasons online in a way that's safe for me, so I don't have to travel to Sacramento or travel to my district representative. This is something we should be able to do immediately and online, and I wish that there would be no restrictions on our availability to present comment to the acupuncture board in respect to public safety in a safe manner from our own home, from our own computer. Thank you very much.
Have been muted. And then moving on to the next public comment, which is Neil, your microphone has been unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Fantastic. I think that the board should take a support position on this. This has to do with ADA compliance for people who are handicapped. And I think that to not do this is to shortchange some people who are in the profession. We don't have a lot of blind practitioners, but we do have one or two. And I know some many hearing impaired practitioners who have had problems communicating with the board. So I think that ADA compliance in terms of web accessibility is the law, and I think that we should, as a state agency, be compliant with that law. My other question regarding this is, if a practitioner was not ADA compliant, I know it's not in this bill, but I'd like to address it. If a person is not ADA compliant, is that unprofessional conduct? I mean, there should be some sort of thing that, because I don't think most practitioners know that they need to have their websites ADA compliant. This has to do with everyone, all practitioners. I have to have mine ADA compliant, and acupuncturists are getting sued. And I know that there are boards that are being sued around the country. And I have a number of cases that I've talked to with my web designer around the country where there are lawyers who just go around and look for boards, or they look for practitioners, they look for associations that are not ADA compliant. CalAtma just came out with their new website, and we are ADA compliant. And so I'm not speaking as a CalAtma person, but using that as an example, I'm speaking as myself. And I would like to see the board set an example here, and it causes no harm for us to support something that makes us compliant with law. That's my comment. Thank you.
You have been muted, and there are no other public comments.
Thank you kindly, Stephanie. A point of clarification here. I think there's a misinterpretation of what this bill's intention is. This isn't to require ADA documents. This isn't to require online commenting. This bill is to provide the agency, in this case the board, the authority to remove a document which it has posted on its website only on the basis that it is actually out of compliance with web accessibility. And at that point, it is legal for the board to remove it, to make it accessible, to make it compliant, and put it back. Now, it would require the board or the director of technology to say, this is our justification for taking, for example, on our website, we post all of our disciplinary matters. So if, as I mentioned earlier, for the additional cost that we're going to be incurring based on the AB 434 from last year, this would allow us to pull all those documents off so that we can make them compliant. Ultimately, we did say watch, but this does expand the board's authority and provides leniency so that it can move forward with web accessibility. And based on that point of clarification, I hand it back to the board.
I believe the current motion is to watch, right? Again, I'd just like to reiterate this, Alex. A watch position does not mean that we don't like this or we're not for it. It's just balancing as to, what is really directly related to acupuncture It's also a political capital thing. Again, I am all about us letting the legislature know what's best for acupuncturists and keeping the public safe. But when we opine on every single bill under the sun, eventually the legislature will stop to heed our recommendations as highly as they do now. When you start kind of laying in on literally everything. That's just where I kind of came from in recommending watch, but I totally hear you all in suggesting a support position. I too am totally supportive of web accessibility, and I imagine everybody at the board loves web accessibility. I would love for everyone to be able to read, see, and hear our documents as they see fit.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to watch this bill. Christine, could you please take roll call vote?
Dr. Matecki?
Yes.
Gitman Chan?
Yes.
Yongkin Chen?
Yes.
John Herabidian?
Yes.
Francisco Kim?
Yes.
Sudong Lee?
Yes.
Ruben Osorio?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
All right, so we are in the home stretch here, everyone. Our last bill, our second to last bill rather, is Senate Bill 1097 by Senator Durazo, entitled Medical Services, Credit or Loan. This bill is still in the Senate. It's been referred to the Committee on Business, Professions, and Economic Development. The hearing last scheduled for March 30th was postponed by the committee. This bill would strengthen provisions included in SB 639 that bars healing arts licensees from charging treatments or costs to an open-ended loan provided by a third party. Essentially, it's conducive to some precarious and perhaps unethical situations, and so the legislature is stepping in and making it clear that they do not want healing arts licensees utilizing these types of loans with their consumers. So we recommend a watch position on this bill. I'm not familiar how prevalent the use of such a setup is in the acupuncture community here in California. Hence the watch position. It's definitely something that would impact us. Are there any questions, comments, or a motion from the board?
This might go to what Kipman was discussing earlier, being that this could help combat a possible form of fraud and that it could entrap consumers into some rather big bills without their knowledge. Board members? All right, hearing nothing from the board members, we'll take that as a statement of no position, and we will open it up for public comment.
Public comment has now been enabled. I would just like to remind the public that we are not utilizing the raised hand feature, and if you do have your hand raised, so please lower it, and to just type in that you would like to make a public comment, and we are taking those public comments in order that we receive them. So it looks like we do have one public comment so far from Dr. Michael Fox. Your microphone has been unmuted.
So thank you. This is Dr. Michael Fox. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. This idea that we're going to take out loans for acupuncture is not a usual thing, and I would support that we watch this. I feel like most acupuncturists are not going to create a usury type of arrangement with their patients, and I want to support our acupuncturists in their desire to help their patients. And I think this is primarily irrelevant. However, from an acupuncture board standpoint, let's watch this and see what's going on. I don't think this is a big deal for us because we don't actually do this as a profession. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Your microphone has been muted. And that was the only public comment that we had.
Thank you, Stephanie. One more opportunity for the board to say or take a position. Hearing none. Oh, Dr. Chen, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I cannot agree more with Dr. Michael Fox. So as as a Acupuncture Association president in Los Angeles, I understand that usually acupuncturists will tell patient get a couple treatment and see how it goes, listen to the body, not surcharge patient. So usually it's not the case. We'll arrange 30 days ago before the treatment. So I support staff recommendation watching and support the recommendation motion language.
Okay. Would you like to say that you move?
Okay,
Watch this bill?
thank you. Yeah, I like to make a motion. So I move that the acupuncture board take a watch position on SB 1097 as introduced on February 19, 2020 for the reasons discussed by members and the staff and as reflected in the staff memo. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chen. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Ruben Osorio. We have a second. Back to public comment since there is a motion on the table.
I am opening up public comment right now.
Thank you.
It is now available.
All right, we'll hold it open for a minute. It seems like we received one comment in support of this. See if there's any other comments. I am not seeing any additional comments from the public. We're going to go ahead and close that off. Christine, if you could please take a roll call vote.
Sure. Dr. Mateki?
Yes.
Pittman Chan?
Yes.
Yangping Chen?
Yes.
John Harabedian?
Yes.
Francisco Kim?
Yes.
Shudong Lee?
Yes.
Ruben Osorio?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thanks.
Thank you, Christine.
All right. So our last bill is Senate Bill 1432 by Senator Glazer. It's entitled Clinical Laboratories. It's currently in the Senate. It's been referred to the Committee on Businesses, Professions, and Economic Development. What this bill would do is that it would require clinical laboratories to notify the Department of Consumer Affairs via email whenever improper specimen handling or storage occurs. And this would require the Department of Consumer Affairs to post on their website a document for that purpose, which has been developed by the Department of Public Health. So we recommend no position. I just thought that it would be important to bring to your attention because it could impact the facilities that we use for such services. So yeah, are there any questions or comments or a motion from the board?
And staff is recommending no position, so there would be no necessary motion to make or move to make. I will hold it open for members to comment, question, or move for a bit. Okay, not hearing any. Let's go ahead and open it up to the public for any comments.
Public comment Q&A is now open.
think 10.
We do have one public comment. Neil, I am unmuting your microphone now.
Can you still hear me?
We can hear you.
Good. Well, I would like to say that I agree with the position that the board is taking on this, and I'd like to state my compliments to the board. You reviewed 23 different bills today. Whether you took a position or not, there was absolute unanimous consent amongst the board members today. It says a lot about how well you are prepared. You didn't always agree with us, but us being the stakeholders who are calling in. But I feel really blessed that you listened to us today, and I really want to compliment the board. And I would like to specifically acknowledge Frederick. Is it Frederick who's reviewing all these? Whoever's reviewing all of these for the board did a great job in presenting the position. Pardon?
Oops, sorry to interrupt. That was Alex.
Alex, okay. Alex, you did a great job, and I really appreciate what you did for the board and for the public, going through and being able to download all of the stuff and seeing the positions and read through them all week. Really gave me some insight to try to think of what was in the best interest of the consumer, to look at my position as a stakeholder and to try to understand your position as the board. And I just think you did a really good job, and I think that is worth mentioning in the public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Neil has been muted, and there is no other public comment.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and take this back to the board for a moment just to see if they have anything else to say. Hearing nothing, the board acknowledges officially no position for SB 1432. And we have reached the end of the legislative report. Might I make a recommendation for a short break, as we've been going straight for some time now?
Yes, Mr. Bodier.
Okay.
So should we say
good.
what, 10 minutes or?
Yep, 10 minutes works, or if we want to go straight to, let's see, what, yeah, it's 44. Do you want to go to 4 o'clock? We have the regulatory update, the regulatory language for AB 2138, election of officers, and establishment of the rest of the calendar year's meeting schedule. So I think we'll be able to get through that in the remaining hour.
Sure.
Okay, so if the public would like to join us back and the board members would like to join us back by 4 p.m. sharp. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we do a quick roll call vote to see if all our board members are in attendance and that we have quorum, please? Oh, wait. I'll go ahead and do that. Christine needs another moment. So if you will bear with me.
Sure.
All right, board members, roll call vote. Dr. Amy Matecki.
Present.
Thank you. Kitman Chan. Kitman, looks like you're muted. Okay, let's come back to Kitman. John Harabidian.
Here.
Hello, John. Ruben Osorio.
I'm here.
Thank you, Ruben. Francisco Hyun Kim.
Yeah.
Thank you, Francisco. Dr. Shudong Lee.
I'm here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello, Kitman.
Yeah, Shudong's here too.
Thank you, Shudong. And Dr. Chen, Yongping Chen.
I'm back.
Thank you. We have quorum, and we may move forward. Point of order. I've received communication from our regulatory attorney, Clay Jackson, that he will need to leave at 4:30. However, for another critical meeting. And I would recommend, President Matecki, if we can move the item 13, AB 2138 regulatory language up so that we may have him present for this item.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much. Alex, why don't we go ahead and introduce this, and then we can let Clay speak to the changes in the language.
Of course. Are you there, Clay?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, wonderful.
Good afternoon, Clay.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So here we have a memo titled Discussion and Possible Action Regarding Assembly Bill 2138, a substantial relationship criteria rulemaking package. This proposal we've got in front of us would initiate an ongoing rulemaking action implementing additional change to the text of Assembly Bill 2138, the package implementing that have been negotiated between Department of Consumer Affairs and the Office of Administrative Law. Essentially, we have already voted on language that would effectuate the statute put into law by Assembly Bill 2138. However, since this has been brought before the board previously, back in March of last year, I believe, we have been informed by OAL that the language that we have used, along with a lot of the other DCA boards have also used, is not sufficient to their standards. So the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Office of Administrative Law kind of work together to negotiate language that everyone's okay with that would actually kind of implement 2138 correctly. So what this proposal in front of us is essentially just the negotiated changes between the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Office of Administrative Law. This would essentially allow us to renotice it and continue through the regulatory process and, resubmit the language that OAL will approve, as opposed to now, where this language is not to OAL's liking.
And this is Clay Jackson. I'm regulatory attorney with the Department of Consumer Affairs Legal Affairs Division. And to pick up on what Alex just said, in January last year, as you're aware, the Department of Consumer Affairs Legal Affairs Department or Division had meetings with the Office of Administrative Law, OAL, and we came up with language that we all agreed would work to use as a template for all 38 to 40 of DCA's regulatory packages for AB 2138. And so last summer, almost a year ago, VetMed submitted their package, which our office considered to be its trial balloon, that we would just make sure that one went through, and then we would all mirror what was done there, so that in all of our documents, which isn't just the documents before you, but it's also various legal documents to support the actual text that goes before the board. And so everything was going great. We were expecting that by Thanksgiving last year, we would have VetMed completed and all of our other 37 to 40 packages would go through without a hitch. The only problem was VetMed had to be withdrawn because OAL, in looking at the language that, as I said, had been agreed upon, that this board voted on based upon that agreement, VetMed was told, your language isn't sufficient. We're going to deny your package approval if you don't withdraw it. So VetMed withdrew the package on or about November 17th. VetMed just resubmitted their package to OAL. And mind you, their attorney has been working madly to get this package redone, rewritten, re-reviewed. since November. So, and there's a regulatory process outside of OAL that had to be followed. So, and COVID didn't help the situation. But the bottom line is VetMed, which is still the first package to make it into OAL, was only submitted within the past 2 weeks. So the language that's before you today has those VetMed changes in it, and that's why it's almost a year since you voted to move, or 8 to 10 months since you voted to move your package forward because of that hiccup with VetMed and OAL. And mind you, you're at this point, if you've already submitted your original language, this language is just to make the technical changes necessary so that this will again mirror the VetMed language that's currently sitting at OAL. And since Alex is doing such a great job today, I'm going to let him read you the actual modifications with the one correction that Alex and I talked about that he'll throw in.
Thank you, Clay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Clay. So obviously, the one change that Clay and I discussed is not reflected in this memo. So we'll have to remember to reflect that in the motion. But I'm just going to go down the list here. If we want to start, if you all want to flip to item 13B, that's the language itself. And what we can do is I can read through the changes in the memo and you can follow along in the actual regulatory text. Or you can not do either of those things and just read the memo and ignore me. Anyways, so here we go. We start off with CCR section 1399.469.4. I think that's subsection A. So here we needed to add references to the correct codes for unprofessional conduct in our Licensure Act. So we've added references to Business and Professions Code sections 4955, 4955.1, and 4955.2. Believe that is the only substantive-ish change we've made in subsection A, aside from removing the or before division, because now we've, it's turning into a list. Then we move to section 1399.469.4B, where we've changed subdivision to subsection. Again, that's just correct, nomenclature, I guess, would be the term. Again, it's the same criteria which the board voted on originally. We're just using the correct term, subsection, instead of subdivision. So then we get to 469.4B, subparagraphs 1, 2, and 3. The only changes that we made there was that we removed the use of semicolons and instead replaced those with periods. And so that necessitated the removal of the word and as well, because it's not a list anymore.
And this is, yes, Clay, if I might, the board is called upon to act upon substantive changes, and things like changing periods are typographical or grammatical or technical, and so those aren't really that important for you to focus on. Okay. More just the actual changing sections as done in A, or the but not limited to that you're going to talk about in C. Those type things.
A reminder. Okay. So that brings us to our first kind of added section. It's 1399.469.4. The only difference from what you see in subsection C here on this on the materials that we've handed out, and what we want to pass. We would like to remove but is not limited to in subsection C, as well as the commas before and after it. That is just not necessary. Did I get that correct, Clay?
Correct. Yes, we'll
Okay.
just remove that, and that won't even be in the final text because the board never voted on it to begin with.
Yep. Okay. Wonderful. So there we just list, we make a reference to our Licensure Act. So essentially we're saying that, hey, if you are breaking any of the laws in the Acupuncture Licensure Act, then that is going to be substantially related to the duties of an acupuncturist. And then convictions of crime involving fiscal dishonesty. So that sums up the changes to substantial relationship criteria, 1399.469.4. Turn to the next page, and that brings us to criteria for rehabilitation, denial of licensure. This is CCR 1399.469.5. Again, we made some technical changes, and we've added, we essentially rephrased subsection B there, correct, Clay?
That is correct. If you read the two, they mean almost the same thing, but OAL didn't like the previously agreed upon language, that if subdivision that's double crossed out. So it's changed to what's now double underlined.
And then if we continue on to subparagraphs 1 through 6, again, we just kind of conformed with OAL's preferences and, uses of language, gravity over severity. We used gravity in subparagraph 1 of subsection A, so it's consistent there. Again, changing the word from subdivision to subsection, which is correct. Those are the changes for 1399.469.5.
And if I might, Alex.
Yes, of course.
When it discusses professional misconduct, and the important thing in AB 2138 is that's never really been a term used within the Department of Consumer Affairs. That's a term that's used with attorneys in their licensing act. And so most of the case law on that in California on the term professional misconduct is now, came over from attorneys. And the term that's used predominantly in, I believe, every DCA license act is unprofessional conduct, which is in your regulations. So if this wasn't added consistently in these regulations, then number one, AB 2138 wouldn't be properly applied, and number two, there'd be no clue as to what professional misconduct is, because it's really in no other place in your regulations, and it's nowhere else in DCA case law, particularly either. There you go, Alex.
So should we change it, or?
No. It has to be here. That's the point. Is if this isn't here, if this isn't here,
but it wouldn't be applied correctly.
Then it wouldn't be applied correctly. So when you keep seeing it in 1, in 2, and all the way down, that's why it's put in there so many times, because it has to be here to implement 2138.
All right. So that brings us to our last section for rehabilitation criteria. It's group criteria for rehabilitation, suspensions, or revocations. And that's CCR section 1399.469.6. Again, we added the general BBC citation for suspensions and revocations of licenses. And that's just the general Department of Consumer Affairs BPC code. We also removed "and is presently eligible for a license" for fear that that could be misinterpreted. And again, we restated subsection B in a similar manner to that which we did in 1399.469.5. And then again, we made several technical changes to subparagraphs 1 through 6. And then we've added a subsection C, which talks about what the board shall evaluate as evidence of rehabilitation when considering a petition for reinstatement.
And one last thing is, on the timing of this, it was originally determined, it's in the law that the board has to apply 2138 on or before July 1st, 2020. But based upon what's happened with OAL and VetMed, and the fact that at this point, DCA has all of 2 packages that have been submitted for final review. COVID is actually probably the biggest blessing to AB 2138 because it's given OAL 2 additional months within which to review any package. So the fact that they're going to be hit with 36 packages within the next month is a huge blessing, believe it or not, from COVID, because usually OAL has 1 month total, one business month, so to say, within which to review a package. And if they don't get it done, it's automatically deemed to be approved. So that's if there's any bright shining star with COVID, it's the fact that all these packages that are late aren't going to be considered late. And just as long as the board uses these criteria, even though they're not in your regulations officially, in determining any actions, any disciplinary action or denial of an application, then it's almost no harm, no foul. So, and the applicant, if they're being treated according to the regulation, even though it's not implemented, can't say that they were improperly treated. So that's the last part of the equation here. Take it away, Alex.
Thanks, Clay. Appreciate it. So again, like we've kind of covered, pretty much all of the changes have been negotiated with OAL. These are things that we need to get through to actually make 2138 work. So we obviously recommend an approval of these 3 changes. Well, changes to these 3 sections, I should clarify. Do we have a motion?
Did we want to, sorry, point of order here. You mentioned that, Clay, there was new language that we needed to include in the motion. Has that already been discussed?
Yes, just the deletion of that one phrase in your first act, in your first regulation.
Fantastic. Okay, and so board members, as you can see, a lot of these were purely technical, although some was to come in alignment with the Office of Administrative Law's interpretation of what we need to get right. Do we have a motion, or before that even, we're happy to entertain any questions or comments on this?
I will make the motion.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So the language, I can just read it here, right?
Yeah, Clay, did we need to add anything to that motion?
Yes. Let me look at it real quick.
If you guys can help with the language.
Right.
Yeah. It's where it goes, not if it goes. And I would take it all the way down to the end, and then just adding with the exception of the deletion in Title 16 CCR Section 1399.469.4, and gotta get that subsection. I want to say, is it C?
I think so, Clay.
C, the initial paragraph of the phrase, but is not limited to, from subsection C.
Okay, with the exception of the deletion of the phrase, but not limited to, is that what you said?
But is not limited to.
But is not limited to. In subsection C of 4694?
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and that would be at the end of the motion or at the end of when we're saying 1399.469.6?
Where do you want it, Fred? Wake Fred up here.
Maybe we let Fred help out.
Well, it takes a village to do this kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Fred, you're fading in and out.
Can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Okay. Sorry, I missed it. What was said?
I just essentially added to the motion that was written down at the end of the motion. So instead of for hearing, take out the period, put comma, with the exception of the removal of the phrase, comma, but is not limited to, comma, from section 1399.469.4, open paren, C, close paren, period.
I mean, the board members, actually, I mean, they understand the motion, what they're voting on, right? I mean, as long as the board members understand what they're voting on and it's clear on the record, on the minutes, I don't have a problem with the language.
Then allow me to read it, and I will add it as Clay noted. Just to confirm, Dr. Murteki, you're about to make this motion, and I will provide the language of the motion. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
Okay. I approve the proposed regular text for Title 16, CCR Section, California Code of Regulations, Section 1399.469.4, 1399.469.5, and 1399.469.6, and direct staff to submit the text to the Director of Consumer Affairs and the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency for review, and, if no adverse comments are received, authorize the Executive Officer to take all steps necessary to amend the preceding rulemaking package, initiate a revised rulemaking process, make any non-substantive technical or grammatical changes to the package, and set the matter for hearing, with the exception of the deletion of the phrase, comma, quote, but is not limited to, comma, quote, in subsection 1399.469.4. I get that right?
C.
And do we have a second? C. Thank you. C in parentheses.
Yeah, that language is fine.
I second that.
Thank you, Ruben. We have a second from Ruben. Do we have any public comment? We are
Let me open up the public comment.
Thank you.
Public comment is now open.
We're going to go ahead and keep this open for about another 30 seconds, only because it's a regulation. We want to make sure that there's no possible technical reasons why someone would claim they could not make a comment at this time. Again, this will also be noticed, so people will be able to make a comment later.
And you are more than welcome to send us along anything in the meantime.
Right.
It looks like we do have a public comment. Neil, your microphone has been unmuted.
Hello.
Oh. Sounds like you're listening
Neil,
on a couple devices.
Yeah, Neil, I've muted your microphone real quick. It sounds like you have multiple devices with the audio coming out. Have the sound off on one of them, otherwise there will be frequency. I'm going to unmute you again to see if it has been resolved.
I have.
Hello?
I have no devices on.
Neil, we are getting a lot of feedback from you, and it looks like you are logged in twice. Do you have the meeting open on multiple devices?
Nope.
I've muted Neil for a second. Bill, do you have any input to help out with this feedback?
I do see that he is back on there. If he can lower the sound, I'm not sure what if you're using an open mic. If you have a headset, that may help. But I do see also that you are logged in there twice for some reason.
Yeah. I'm going to try and unmute Neil's other device that's loaded up here and see if maybe that can help. So I'm going to unmute him a different way. Neil, can you speak, please?
Hello?
A lot less feedback.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot less feedback this way. So
I mean, I only have one device on, and I haven't changed anything since I've been sitting here since this morning.
Okay. It looks like you're logged in twice, so I just unmuted you from the other login, and it sounds a lot better. So I think we are good for the public comment now at this time.
Okay.
If you'd like to begin.
I just find this entire regulation very difficult to follow. I mean, this has already gone into law. Now this is just a technical change.
If I might.
No, this is not in law yet. This is the regulation we're trying to push forward. Move forward. The board has voted to approve the previous language, but we did not get it to OAL, as Alex noted. This is now, before being submitted to OAL, being addressed so that we do not get denied based on the old language.
Right. Well, oh God. I don't know how to make that go away, but I was
go ahead and give your comment.
I was concerned that I support the bill, but I'm concerned about this, about people re-entering society with a criminal conviction and still being out on parole and looking at what the conviction was.
Okay.
And I'm concerned that the bill drafted as that is would require a license to be issued to applicants from somewhere between physicians and engineers and everybody else. And it's sort of like this one size fits all. And I think that, you know, it's important to ensure that the law does not go too far in preventing boards who license us and license individuals with the highest potential to impose harm on the public from exercising their discretion to deny a license if they feel the public would be at risk.
Thank you, Neil. We've received your comment, and the board does retain discretion in certain sections as identified in Part C, I believe, of the first one.
Yeah, so again, this is just the clarifying point. 2138 is a law that is passed, it is in the statute, it's in the books. What this regulatory proposal is doing is essentially 2138 gave all the boards the authority to create the criteria by which we decide a crime is substantially related, right? So this regulation is us doing what the law told us to do. The law said, hey, you guys and girls, whoever, need to make regulations to make this work, essentially. So this language is what OAL and DCA Legal have worked together to say, okay, this is what's going to make 2138 as a law function, because we need regulations to make the law, the statute itself, function. So we can't do anything about the statute or the law at this point, short of introducing a new bill and changing the underlying law. But what we have to do right now is this regulatory package, which will make 2138 function at our board. So this language that we've already approved, these changes are just, they don't change any of the ideas that we originally approved. Anyways.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex. Any other public comment?
There are no other public comments.
Thank you, Stephanie. Let's go ahead and take this as a roll call vote. Christine, if you could please carry that out.
Yes. Dr. Mateki?
Yes.
Jitmin Chan?
Yes.
Youngpei Chen?
Yes.
John Harabedian?
Yes.
Francisco Kim?
Yes.
Shudong Lee?
Yes.
Ruben Osorio?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, board members. Thank you, public members.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your help.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. We really appreciate your guidance on that.
And I'll just listen to the rest of Alex on Memorex. Thank you, everybody.
Certainly.
Thanks, Clay.
All right, that covers item 13, which leaves us with, if we can go back to the regulatory report, and then we can pick up from there.
Okay. All right, so Alex, one more time, I promise. This is our regulatory update. It's kind of listing all of the regulations that we have on our docket as a board. So the first one is the one that we just discussed, AB 2138, Nile application, revocation, or suspension of a licensure for a criminal conviction. We just approved new language, so that is the current status. So once we get together the documents essentially outlining the changes that we're proposing and we update our original Eyesore, that should be ready to go to send off to OAL and re-notice to the public. So that is where we are at with that. Our next bill, or regulatory package as a result of a bill, I guess I should say, is Senate Bill 1441, implementing uniform standards related to substance abusing licensees and update of disciplinary guidelines. This has actually been combined into a larger package with the next bill, which is 1448, disclosure of probation status to patients. Those have both been combined with our disciplinary guidelines updates. So that is one large mega package, so to speak. That is pretty much just shy of being ready for legal review. We are just finishing up the rationale for our recommended actions per violation. Our next regulatory package is Senate Bill 1246, aligning curriculum standards and approval-related regulations with statutes. That is a package that I was currently working on before I got pulled to doing some board meeting preparations. So that will be what I am back on tomorrow, or at least part of the day. Again, that is another one that we are quite close to having the initial package finished up and ready to send off to legal for an initial review. The next is AB 2190, application process, criteria, and procedures for approval of a credential evaluation service. We are still working on that language, and we expect to present it at the next licensing and exam committee. That brings us to our sixth package, which is increasing board fees. This was approved back in, let's see, it says August here. That is a package that's pretty much ready to go. Like we mentioned earlier, statutes passed by the legislature give us the authority to write regulations, right? So our fees are set in statute. So, for certain fees, the legislature kind of gives us the ability to kind of just set it at whatever cost is. But following our fee audit, we have been able to assign costs to these things. And so anyways, we took that analysis to the legislature and worked with them to get legislative authority to then in turn get regulatory authority to write this package and increase our board fees. So this package is, again, very, very close to being done, just crossing the T's and dotting the I's and getting a last look from DCA Legal and Exec. And then we will notice it with the public. And then our last package that we've got here is our application for retired status restoration. This was also voted on in our August board meeting. This package is still under development.
Thank you, Alex. And I'll just go ahead and take advantage of this opportunity here and just point out that the next section, which is the rulemaking tracking form, it covers the exact same regulations that Alex just covered. It's just a different way to visualize where these regulations are in the process. And we introduced this approach at the last meeting, or a couple meetings ago, and that brings us to the end of the regulatory report. We leave it open to board members for any questions, comments. Right. I'm not hearing anything at the moment from the board members, so let's go ahead and open it up for public comment.
Public comment is now open.
Thank you. All right, we're not seeing any public comment coming in. Can we get a confirmation there?
Yes, I don't see any public comment.
Thank you, Stephanie. That said, no further questions from the board. Excellent. Thank you, President Matecki. I believe we are ready to move forward. Next item to discuss on the agenda would be Consumer and Professional Associations reports.
Yes.
Thank you. This period is for any consumer and professional associations, representatives thereof, to provide the board an update on what is going on within the industry among their practitioners and even their student members. Please go ahead and we'll treat this as we have with public comment. Go ahead and raise your hand and let us know who you are representing and provide us your update. Bill and Stephanie, do you mind just putting up that public comment window? Thank you, just in case folks are challenged.
Perfect. It looks like we do have a few.
Thank you.
So the first one is Victoria. Victoria, I am unmuting your microphone now. Can you do a quick mic check, please?
Hello, this is Victoria. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, I just have a question. The issue of NCC ALM exams to replace the Cali exam has been quite controversial. So I'm curious if the board will have its position on this sometime pretty soon.
Thank you for your comment, Victoria.
Thank you.
We can move to the next public comment.
Thank you. Next is Sarah. Sarah, I'm unmuting your microphone now. Can we have a mic check, please?
Hi, this is Sarah from CSOMA. Can you hear me?
Hi, Sarah. Yes.
Hi.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
CSOMA would like to thank the board for protecting public safety by opposing dry needling by athletic trainers and other non-licensed acupuncturists. This remains a major concern for our membership. CSOMA is pleased that Medi-Cal cuts were not made to the acupuncture benefits in the most recent budget, and we will continue to monitor that. Our practitioners are interested in more and not less Medi-Cal benefits. CSOMA in the most recent months organized the first national COVID-19 town hall event in partnership with the ASA, NCCAOM, and other industry experts. And we will be continuing to organize free webinars for our members. Our board has met 4 times in 2020, and membership has increased 11% since the COVID restrictions in March. We would like to continue to build relationships with CalAtma and the AACMA and other professional organizations to discuss combined lobbying initiatives to advance our profession. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Sarah. Pleasure to hear from you and CSOMA.
Okay, the next comment we have is from Neil. Neil, your microphone has been unmuted. Can we do a mic check, please?
Mic check.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. I'm here today representing myself as an independent acupuncturist of influence. It was a title that was given to me recently by a number of different acupuncturists on different websites. As we know, there's over 13,000 acupuncturists, 20 different associations that represent less than 2,000 people, which means over 11,000 people in the profession have no idea what the acupuncture board does. They don't get any information about changes. They get things secondhand. They get things through social media. So today I'm communicating. I'm a member of 6 different associations, and I'm communicating with. I'm working with CSOMA and the Japanese JAAC and AAMA, which is a Korean association. I've been talking with UAA, which was David Chen's organization. I am talking with the person from AACMA. So I'm reaching out to 5 or 6 different associations that will handle about 1,000 people. Together, that's about 1,000, 1,200 people. And the 5 different social media sites that I'm communicating to add up to over 2,000 people. So I'm trying to communicate. I've taken notes from today's thing. There are a lot of people who were turned on to today's meeting. I will be making a report of today's meeting, and I wanted to let the acupuncture board know that I'm doing everything that I can to get the word out and to try to, from our end, unite the profession so that we can work on the professional side. And on a personal note, I've been a consumer advocate for the last 30-something years coming to acupuncture board meeting. So I'm just expanding that and trying to find more clarity and more connection with different acupuncturists. Something like the NCCAOM, most people don't realize that that's not under the board's purview, that that's a statutory change, not a regulatory change. And a lot of people don't understand what the role of the acupuncture board is in protecting the public and where they can weigh in and where they can't. I've had a great relationship with the staff, and they've been wonderful working with me. A number of the most of the associations have not grown. CSOMA has grown, and I'm aware that they've had a very good growth. And unfortunately, on the other hand, you have CalAtma that went from a year ago. I reported that they had over 400 members that were put together by the steering committee under the leadership of Michael Fox. And currently, they've lost about 85% of their members. So they have about 45, 50 members. So I'm going to continue to make recommendations to the board regarding regulations and things that might help the board. And anything that the board wants to get out, they can communicate with me. I am on the list, but I wanted you to know that it's not just going to me. I'm not speaking for today I'm speaking for myself, but I'm reporting to several thousand acupuncturists who are really trying to get tuned in. And during this COVID period, acupuncture, a lot of social media sites have popped up that are really addressing a lot of the issues, and there's a lot of conversations that have happened, and there's a lot of misinformation and
30-second
disinformation.
warning.
Thank you. So I just wanted the board to know that I was working on this, trying to get the profession on their end together and to do everything that I can to make the board more clear, and that we all work together for the same purposes of protecting the public and expanding our profession and making access to our medicine better. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Unmute me.
Miller has been muted, and it looks like we have a duplicate entry from Victoria. Would you like me to unmute Victoria?
Please.
Okay, and that is the only other public comment that I see. So Victoria, you have been unmuted.
Okay, thank you. I just want to add something. First of all, I appreciate what Neil Miller has been done to CalAtma. Also, I am a board of trustee, as I introduced myself before, that I just want to make a little addition to what he said, that the board members currently is 40 plus something. True, whatever, however, and we have close to 100 people waiting to join in month of June or July. So this is the only addition I have. Thank you.
Thank you kindly. Any other public, I'm sorry, not public comment. This is a professional association update.
Yes, there appears to be one more. Philip, I have unmuted your microphone.
Okay. Yeah, this is Philip Yang on behalf of AACMA. We have some updates. We are currently working on with other brother associations to like a national medical association, and also NCCAOM, CISOMA, and also my personally is a member of CATIMA, and so we are trying to get the acupuncture is being approved to treat Medicare patients, but have to be under supervision of MDs. So we are trying to strive for the rights in the future. Acupuncture can be independently practice on Medicare patients. So we all have the same goal. And also AACMA, in the beginning of COVID-19, our association wrote letters to the White House and to the governor, made the proposals to try to participate the acupuncture and herbal medicine practice to treat COVID patients. But we didn't get any response yet, but at least we try to help the public in COVID-19. And also we, ACMA, continue strongly support acupuncture board's work, wonderful work. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you kindly, Philip, and ACMA.
It looks like Neil has stated that he would like to make another comment. Would you like me to unmute Neil?
Neil, if you can make it brief. It sounds like you've already made your update.
I'm always brief, Ben.
Indeed.
I wanted to add that the National Association, ASA, has really done a great job, especially during this COVID period, reaching out to many states. In California, we have over 20 associations, but both CISOMA and CalAtma are members of ASA and have been working with ASA, having meetings every couple weeks to bring us up to speed on things that are related to COVID. I wanted to add that CalAtma just came out with their new website, so you can go to that at calatma.org, and they will have a much better opportunity to reach out to however many members that they have. And I did notice that NCCA has hired a lobbyist. He was the former executive officer for CalAtma, David Quackenbush, and he has been working with NCCOM, and I've had an opportunity to work with him. And I'm trying to work with him and NCCOM to try to increase communication amongst the various associations so we could eliminate a lot of the disinformation that's going on. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. I appreciate that update.
There are no other pending comments.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And thank you to the associations that provided updates. It's encouraging to hear that there is membership growing in some of them and that there's increased communication between them. Any questions or comments from the board members on this item?
I have a comment.
Please.
Yeah. I've been hearing a lot of things coming up from, like, let's say, the Medicare coverage for acupuncture for chronic low back pains. And there's been a lot of changes or a lot of different health professionals affected by this COVID-19. Especially, I've had several incidents with MDs, physicians. They try to, they're considering to refer some patients of chronic low back pain for acupuncture, but they don't know how, or they don't know how to work with. And of course, when physicians see a patient, they put a prescription for medicine for pharmacist or other treatment for, like, for example, physical therapist. But the acupuncturist is not that to that level, and I believe it's because, yeah, of course, it's a good thing that the ASA and other groups are working in the national level in Washington D.C. But I see, as a former steering committee member for CalAtma, who wanted to, or I mean, those people who wanted to unify the whole and then the association, a professional unification for one professional association, but which didn't happen, and I think it's someone, I don't know, several people proposed some Chinese herb clinical trial project, but I believe, including this Medicare coverage, we need to come up with a one professional association. I think that's the most important thing. And so I suggest all these associations to communicate with each other and recommend some experts on this, whatever the project you guys want to achieve, and then have an advisory committee to talk with the board or the legislature or California government, and you can maybe later on under that umbrella, maybe form a professional association. It's like a World Cup, all these elected officials they worked hard to be elected, and then working in the Assembly and Senate, but not like other health professional. Also, the acupuncturist didn't come up with a one professional association, which is a very shame, I think. So I think, if you want to accomplish something, then you have to come up with one professional association as like other healthcare professional. Thank you.
Thank you, Francisco Kim. Any other board members?
Yes. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dr. Chen.
Oh, thank you. I kind of echo Dr. King's saying because I came from some same position from steering committee Katama and later on Katama board and the local Los Angeles Association. So of course Katama for good intention, good purpose to united to unite the whole California's acupuncturists, but they are making progress. I witnessed the progress. So annual meeting and since the COVID-19, things is different. But I participated at Katama's once a week, the online webinar. So Katama give a lot of information professionally or about some or variety different different content of classes. So I'm impressed for that. That's my personal experience as one of the member. So I think in the future, like Dr. Kim said, united is the only way to benefit everybody. I mean, the purpose is all the professionals, their purpose is benefit the consumer. So I think united and get information will help the consumer. So talking about the herbal medicine, right now, actually, some of the individual practitioners, they are using herbal medicine, and some non-acupuncturists, they are using herbal medicine. Like Ben explained, herbal medicine actually no restriction, not excluded for licensed acupuncture use only. But I think we can do some clarification or give information like for using for using the Chinese herbal medicine, who has the more training. We just say ourselves how much hours, how much acupuncturist, the education criteria is standard is. So obviously, acupuncturist has highest standard of training for using herbal medicine. So I think give this information out, then will help the consumers to choose for them to get more information to choose the practitioners. So that's my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chen.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. This is Dr. Mateki. I just wanted to have a few words. I must say today I'm very touched and feel really excited about the stakeholder, the public, how much has been participated and commented on the board. Really grateful for the public sat through and review the bills with us. So I think the board, we have a high priority to protect the public, but also we can work together to help, to support and also become the lead for the rest of the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mateki. Any additional comments from other board members? Okay, I'm not seeing any unmuting their phone. I will take that as that we are good here. And Dr. Mateki, we have completed item number 14 on the agenda, and this will lead us to item 15, the election of board president and vice
Ben,
president.
it's Fred.
Yeah.
I think we should have public comment on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and, forgive me, let's back it up to number 14 again and open it up now to public comment.
The public comment is now open.
Thank you, Stephanie. We'll go ahead and leave a moment for possible public comment.
So we do have one public comment, Neil. Neil, I'm unmuting your microphone now.
Testing.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I was curious as to the relationship between board members and members of the public or members of different associations. I'm concerned about an undue influence where people on the board might be lobbied or talking on social media or discussing things in the profession or things on the board. And I'd like to know, what are the rules related to, going on WeChat or talking about things or, talking about things in, sometimes people talk in different languages. They don't think other people are watching. And I have seen some abuses of this recently. And I don't know if there's something wrong with that. I don't know if there's someone that I should report this to. Should I just look at it and say, well, some people are having an unfair influence with board members, or board members are trying to get associations to work a certain way. And I'm all about open and democracy and transparency. And I want to make sure that sort of relationship takes place here at this great spot where the board asks for comments from the profession and the consumers and such. But I am concerned about things that are not above board. And I don't know how to address that, where to address that, and how I could read about that so that I'm very familiar with what the rules are in relationship to this type of communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Neil has been muted, and it looks like there are no other public comments.
Thank you, Stephanie. That brings this item to a close. And with your permission, Dr. Mateki, I would like
Stephanie, there was one person now just popped up with a comment just before we were ready to close.
Oh, all right. Let's give them an opportunity.
Okay. Now I've unmuted your microphone. Can we do a mic check, please?
Yes, this is Nell from CSOMA. Can anyone hear me?
Perfect, we can hear you. Thank you.
Perfect. I just really want to echo Neil's concerns as well. We're, very open to any type of collaboration. I think we all want the same things when it comes to the growth of our profession, and a lot of the associations have been making attempts to work together. But the board, the California Acupuncture Board, has made a few comments during this meeting, just kind of clarifying the roles. And I think there seems to be a little bit of overlap. And I like some of the information that Neil is requesting as well. What are the rules? How do we make this fair? How do we make it clear that, there is some type of checks and balances? Associations are more for advocacy for the profession, whereas the board is looking out for public safety. Would definitely love some additional clarification on that and just understanding of what these rules are. Thank you.
Thank you, Nell.
Nell has been muted, and I think that was the last public comment. Thank you, Bill, for catching that.
Thank you. All right, I think we're good with, yes. All right, let's move on to item 15. election of board president and vice president. And Fred, if you could assist me here if I stumble. Let's go ahead and should we do the president first? And what I would do is I would ask the board for any nominations for the position of president for the calendar year of 2020. Traditionally, the board holds elections at the first board meeting of the calendar year, and this year it turned out to be now. So I will now open it up to the board members for any nominations for the position of president of the California Acupuncture Board. And if you could make a motion? Or I'll take that back. Just I'm going to ask for nominations, and then we can motion for.
I'll nominate Dr. Mateki.
I'd like to make a nomination for Amy and continue serve as a becoming
board president.
2020's president.
Okay, we have one nomination by Kipman Chan for Amy. I believe I heard, John, was that you for?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so we do have two nominations for Amy.
I second that.
Ruben seconds that. Okay. Do we have any other nominations for president? All right. Kevin, why don't you go ahead and just make a motion?
I'm sorry, me?
Yeah. Well, or John. Anybody want to make a motion to elect Amy as president?
So moved. Don't make.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Thank you. There's a motion on the table by John Harabidian to have Amy Mateki, doctor, be president of the Acupuncture Board. And we have a second by Ruben Osorio. And let's open it up to public comment.
Public comment is now open.
Thank you. We'll keep public comment open for a moment on the Dr. Amy Mateki as president of the Acupuncture Board. I see one comment, possibly 509.
Yes. So we do have a comment. Philip, I am unmuting your microphone.
Okay, thank you. Philip Yang, representing Nile State University and also ACMA. We fully support Dr. Mateki, did a great job, and she continues as a president of California Acupuncture Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yang.
Yang has been muted. Next is Neil. Neil, I'm unmuting your microphone.
Testing.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, as someone who's attended 85% of the board meetings since 1989, I've seen a lot of presidents of this board, and I've seen a lot of things happen. Dr. Mateki has made a really good, quick study of the role that she has. I think that Ben has done a great job, guiding her and the other board members, and I would definitely have no reservation about supporting, if I were to vote or to recommend to the board to vote and continue Dr. Mateki's role as the president of the board, chairman of the board.
Thank you, Neil.
It appears there are no other public comments.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Let's go ahead and take a roll call vote. The motion on the table is to have Dr. Mateki be board president. Christine?
Shall I abstain?
Can you hear me okay?
No, I believe you're allowed to vote.
Okay.
Go ahead, Christine.
Oh, okay. I will start with Dr. Matecki.
Yes, and thank you all.
Kitman Chan.
I heard a yes for Kipman.
Oh, you did? Okay. I didn't hear that. Young Ping Chin.
Yes.
John Harabadian.
Yes.
Francisco Kim.
Francisco, you might be muted. Okay, let's go ahead and circle back around.
Okay. Sudong Lee.
Yes.
Okay. Ruben Osorio.
Yes.
All right, and let's give Francisco one more chance. Francisco, are you the president?
I see he's unmuted.
All right, well, we do have a majority vote.
We do.
So,
Hey, Ben, it's Fred. It's Fred. Hey, I didn't catch the first two votes. I didn't hear. I didn't hear the vote. I didn't hear a yes. Sorry.
Dr. Matecki and Kitman Chan, would you kindly repeat your vote? Dr. Matecki, what was your vote on you being president?
Yes.
Thank you for the yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Fred. And Francisco, one last chance.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Thank you, Francisco.
All right.
We now have Amy Matecki as board president. Congratulations, Dr. Matecki.
Thank
Do
you
I
all
have-
for your support.
Of course. Moving on to the second officer for the election. Do I hear any nominations for vice president of the Acupuncture Board? If someone's trying to nominate someone, we're not hearing you, and you are muted. Just to confirm. All right, I'm not hearing anything, so I'm just gonna call out again. Do we have any nominations for vice president?
I'll nominate Kitman Chan again.
Kipman has been nominated. Kipman, do you wish to accept that nomination?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
This is
Not
a
hearing-
Shudong. I like to be the second.
All right.
So for the
So,
nomination, yeah.
okay. John, may I treat your nomination as a motion?
Yes.
Thank you. With Shudong seconding, let's move to public comment.
Public comment is now open.
Thank you, Stephanie.
It looks like Neil would like to make a public comment. Neil, I'm unmuting your microphone.
I assume that you can hear me. I think that Kidman did a great job in the past, and I like consistency when it comes to leadership. I think that he's quite qualified to do the position. He always adds very interesting comments, and I think that he has done a great job in his role protecting the consumer and being a public member of the board. It's really important to have public members that really pay attention and read all of the details of what we're discussing and try to make an effort to protect the public and try to take on that role, and I think that he's done a good job, and I hope that the board supports him unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
We do have one more public comment from Philip. Philip, your microphone has been unmuted.
Yes, thank you. Philip Yang, representing ACMA. We strongly support Kim In Chen as a vice president. He's very, very professional, very, very responsible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yang.
It appears there are no other public comments.
Thank you, Stephanie. Let's go ahead and do a roll call vote. The motion is to have Kipman Chan be Vice President of the Acupuncture Board. Christine?
Starting with Dr. Mateki,
Yes.
Kitman Chan,
Yes.
Yangping Chen,
Yes.
John Harabedian,
Yes.
Francisco Kim,
Yes.
Chudon Lee,
Yes.
Ruben Osorio.
Yes.
Motion passes. And
For everybody support me. Thank you.
Thank you
Congrats.
to the board members, and congratulations to both Dr. Mateki and Mr. Chan. We have our new and returning president and vice president. Fantastic. This will bring us to close to the end. I promise this won't take much longer, depending on how many future agenda items we will be receiving. We are on item 16, establishment of the 2020 meeting calendar. If you turn to the front of your materials, the calendar for 2020 is actually right behind the cover page. This is both for the physical packet as well as the digital packet for those listening or using the electronic version. In terms of staff recommendations for board meeting dates, we are left with the opportunity for 2 more board meetings in 2020. We can have more should the need present itself, but typically we do quarterly meetings. And right now I recommend that we look to meet the last full week of August. As we discussed in the legislative calendar, the 31st of August is the last day for bills to be passed, and the 21st of August is the last day for bills to be amended. Therefore, if we have a meeting in the middle of that week, and it does not have to be on a Friday, the board will be able to take positions on any last-minute amendments at that time, at least any of the major amendments. And then again, to provide a little bit of space, but to allow for an earlier meeting in 2021, I recommend meeting the week before Thanksgiving, the week of November 16th through the 20th. And as we see today, we have pushed it quite to the limit, and what we had was a relatively light amount of items. So I am going to recommend a 2-day meeting again for our next 2 meetings. Can I get any comments or suggestions from the board if those are okay, or what days they would prefer?
And this is Amy. So I think I will go with the rest of the board members, so let's see the schedule with other board members. So I think any of the days will be fine with me. So.
Thank you, Dr. Mateki. Other board members, are there any challenges with the weeks I noted, or would you prefer them to be on other days? Again, this is to, at least August meeting is to facilitate our business legislatively.
No problem here.
Thank you, Member Harabedian.
I have no problem.
I don't have a problem.
Excellent. Sounds like we have a quorum there. I just want to make sure that the other remaining members are okay with that too.
No problem for me too, Shudong.
Thank you, Shudong.
No problem for Yongping Chen.
Okay. And I wasn't sure, did we hear from Ruben? Okay. Well then, would board members, we are not required to hold meetings on Fridays, and so especially with the very likely case that we will be having a WebEx meeting in August as well. I recommend that we select 2 days consecutive. It will allow us to get out of the meeting earlier if need be, so we're not staying after hours. Again, Friday is available, but if board members are, it's easier for folks to do a Tuesday, Wednesday. I would recommend it not be on a Monday, but outside of that, board members, do you want to throw any dates at me?
So we look at a Tuesday, Wednesday, what, on the 25th or the 18th that week?
25th, 26th?
I see. I will be fine, but let's see what the rest of the board members.
I have no problem.
Okay. Are folks then okay with Tuesday and Wednesday, or do they want to keep it at Thursday, Friday? Look at middle of the week, Wednesday, Thursday.
We had Thursday and Friday 2-day meeting for the last year.
Correct.
And, I think that that's fine. No, Thursday and Friday. I think we can keep this 2 days because I think it's to me is it okay, and any other day to me is okay too. But I looks like last year everybody is no problem on the Thursday and Friday.
Thank you, Member Chan. Board members, it sounds like we just heard that Thursday, Friday was working, and it sounds like it works for our president and our vice president. Does that work for the rest of you?
I'm okay.
Thank you, Member Kim.
It's fine.
Thank you, Member Harbedian.
I'm a Shudong.
Yes,
I'm okay too. Yeah.
Thank you,
Shudong's okay too. Yeah.
Yes, that will work for me.
Thank you, Mr. Osorio. Member Osorio. All right, so let's go ahead and, I'm sorry, Dr. Chen.
Oh, yeah, it'll be okay. For me too.
Thank you. Apologies. And did I miss anybody? Okay. It sounds like August 27th and 28th will be our next board meeting date. Are folks okay with November 19th and 20th? Again, that is the week before Thanksgiving. And that is now Thursday and Friday. As folks have said, it's not an issue, but if it's an issue on this particular date, please let us know.
I am fine.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Mategi.
I'm with me.
Thank you, Member Harbedian.
I'm okay.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'm okay too.
Thank you, Member Kim.
Okay. Yongping is okay.
Thank you, Dr. Chen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ruben. Then did we hear from Shudong?
Oh, thanks.
Thank you. All right, so it looks like we got November 19th and 20th as our second board, or technically our third board meeting for 2020, and the second of remaining ones. So thank you, board members. So it looks like we have our next board meeting date set, and we will work to accommodate that. And we can move on to the next item now.
Hey, Ben, it's Fred.
Yes, Fred.
Sorry, let's,
do we do public comment?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. My apologies. Board members, please excuse me as we open it up for public comment on the board meeting dates of August 27th and 28th and November 19th and 20th.
Public comment is now open.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, it's looking like one last confirmation from our moderators. Anybody on the list?
I do not see any public comment.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. That wraps this up, and we have our board meeting dates for the rest of 2020. Thank you, board members. Dr. Mateki, we can now move to the next agenda item, future agenda items.
Yes, the future agenda items. So let's open up to the board members. So what would you like to see for the future agenda items?
And keep in mind, we've got a number of regulatory packages coming your way. This is, it doesn't have to be, whatever folks suggest doesn't have to be held at the next meeting. If it's requested by a board, the board administrative manual allows the board president at least 2 board meetings before having to hear those items, depending on board business. And we also have the strategic plan. However, at every board meeting, we hear a number of new items. So it is available to you to suggest other items. All right. I am not hearing or seeing anybody unmuting their phones. So Dr. Mateki, it sounds like board members do not have any additional items to revise future agenda items.
Yeah. So let's open up to the public. Anyway.
I
Oh, sorry.
actually, I unmute myself. May I talk?
Sure, Dr. Chen. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So as Dr. Neil Miller mentioned earlier, the communication between the board and the acupuncturist is important. And as a lot of, today I heard a lot of professionals association, they mentioned, they ask for to establish a task force to research on the herbal to help out the coronavirus infection. So it's good for the consumer, right, to increase the accessibility. But meanwhile, I also concerned about the quality of the service, use herbal, and also the safety for the public. So I'm not sure if everybody feel we can discuss in the next board meeting about give consumer some information or work together with some herbal expertise. So that's my suggestion.
Okay. Am I correct in summarizing that as you want herbal expertise?
Yeah, we'll give some information like a informational material for the consumers to understand, like tell them what's the training of acupuncturist for the herbal medicine, and what's the availability to help some of the to help out some of the symptoms.
I have noted that as a future agenda item.
Yeah. If other board members think it's appropriate.
It doesn't matter. If you want it as an agenda item, this is your opportunity for you to say it, and then we will work with the board officers to see where and when we can bring it in, and if they're capable.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Badia.
Certainly. Any other items from the board members? Hearing none. Dr. Madakia, let's go ahead and take it to the public.
Yes, let's open up to the public.
Public comment is now open. It looks like Mia would like to make a public comment. Unmuting your microphone now.
Thank you. You know how much I love this point of the meeting. Hopefully some of the items that I've been talking about for, I don't know, many years will start to get on the agenda. I know that I was supposed to speak in March on the issue of bleeding. We have a new legal counsel, so I hope that he'll be able to look at the past discussions that we had and be prepared to make a decision as to whether or not bleeding is as it's taught, and it's in the regulations that it's taught, but it's not clear in our scope of practice. And there was a former executive officer of the board who said that it wasn't, and this is probably one of the bigger gray areas in our profession. There are people walking on eggshells, tipping around like, can I do this? Can I not do this? The board is now approving CEs for that include bleeding, but this is a really big issue, and it's been skirted for, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years. We've been talking about this 3 or 4 times a year. So I appreciate the fact that Ben and Dr. Mataki last year moved forward a lot of the agenda items, but this was supposed to be done in March. It was supposed to be done last year. We moved it to the early meeting this year. And then I thought it would be on this meeting. I could see that it wasn't because it was a full agenda, but I hope that you'll prioritize this. I've asked that between this year and next year, we'd start to discuss some of the new technologies. I know that the board can't do anything about scope, but I think that it's important that the board understand what the technology and what's happening in the profession. There are a lot of people that are using lasers illegally because we're not allowed to use light. As like the chiropractors, it says in their practice, they can use light. And we need a forum to discuss this to show that the legislature, that we are discussing this. This is a partnership between the schools and the board so that we can talk about, so that all the stakeholders can talk about the parameters of education and what would go into such legislation. We've had task forces before that talked about curriculum competencies, and I hope to have Ben talked about curriculum competencies, and I hope that we could put something on the agenda and maybe discuss having a curriculum competency team or a meeting that specifically addresses that during an education committee meeting, because it's a big deal. So that would be discussing lasers and injection therapy, and those are things that are injections. I don't know anybody in California is doing it. I think we all know that that's not legal here, but it is legal in 4 or 5 states, as I pointed out before. And California has always been on the forefront of innovation, and we have fallen behind in terms of acupuncture being on the forefront. And with 1/3 of the acupuncturists in the country here, I hope that we can take this up. The issue of Asian massage. We have some new board members and a new legal team. So if you Google Asian massage is in the law, but nobody on this board for the last 4 years has been able to tell me what Asian massage is. This is a complete disservice to the profession. But since 2006, the acupuncture board has sent out letters stating that either Oriental massage or Asian massage.
Hi, this is the moderator. I have muted Neil for going over the time limit. Would you like me to move on to the next participant, or?
Dr. Mateki?
So maybe just give him another 10 seconds, or let him, just give him a warning. Thank you.
Thank you. Neil, I'm going to unmute your microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you've been unmuted.
Okay, so changing the law, changing Asian massage to manual therapy will be effective. All you have to do is Google Asian massage and you'll see what comes up, and it's no one can explain it. It's the board's, you need to be able to do this. And lastly, since I only have this short time, is the Consumer Guide to Acupuncture and Asian Medicine. This was a document that was in access to the consumer for over 20 years. They stopped doing it when Governor Schwarzenegger finished. I have been talking about this through the entire 8 years of Jerry Brown, and I've talked about it for 1.5 years of Gavin Newsom. Please put this on the agenda. Please address the Consumer Guide to Acupuncture and Asian Medicine so that we can put out a new copy with the new governor's name on it and we can make any changes to better inform the consumer.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next public comment. Philip, I am unmuting your microphone. Can you do a quick mic check, please?
Sure, thank you. Continuing with the topic, Dr. Yongping Chen, about the treating the coronavirus patients, maybe is it possible can the CAB can make can form a committee like to form a guidelines for two things. So one is the professional standard, who can do that training, what kind of a criteria, who can perform that training, that practice. Second is the safety, the public safety. Give the guidelines. The public safety also give the guidance to the professionals how to perform that herbal medicine treatment to the COVID-19 patients. And also maybe the former herbal medicine committee to do more controls and guidance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Yang.
We have another comment from Yoon Kim. I'm unmuting your microphone now. Can we do a quick mic check, please?
Yes. Hello.
Hi, perfect. We can hear you.
Great. This is Yoon Kim from Emperor's College. I would just like to support Neil Miller's comment about the phrase Asian massage. This is not something that we should be using. We need to move away from this phrase, which does not connote positive things for medicine. We really need to move towards biomedical terms. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Kim.
Thank you. Any other board member? I'm sorry, any other public members?
Yes, we have another public comment from Dr. Michael Fox. I'm unmuting your microphone now.
Hi, this is Dr. Michael Fox. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I just want to comment that first, to support an objection to the term Asian massage. It's very vague, and we need to define what that is. And frankly, what it is manual therapy in terms of physical treatments as we currently know it in Western medical terms. And further, in relation to some other comments, I sort of have an objection to the idea that we need to allow ourselves to treat a specific disease because this is already in our scope. We already have the ability and the scope and the knowledge and the training to treat lung heat types of conditions which would be consistent with a Western medicine diagnosis of coronavirus and SARS. And those specific regulations would fall within the confines of FDA and not within the board, in my opinion, the California Acupuncture Board. So I don't want us to start saying we can treat this and we cannot treat that. We need to say that we need to be consistent with our scope of practice and with our public safety types of statements, that when we as practitioners of traditional Asian medicine, we can treat these issues as they come up, regardless of what Western medicine labels them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fox. Any other public comment?
It looks like there are no further public comments.
Thank you, Stephanie. Back to you,
Thank
Dr. Mateki.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Stephanie. So this is come to conclude of a board meeting, and it is now 5:41, and I want meeting adjourned. And thank you all for your support, staff, and DCA moderator, our legal consultant. Thank you all and the board members and the staff. We look forward to our next meeting. Thank you.
Thanks again, Dr. Mateki. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.